This is the latest video in our history series, and I've titled it Confessions of a Regional Newspaper Journalist in South Wales and Beyond. I've been a sports journalist for 50 plus years, working for the Kent Evening Post, Derby Evening Telegraph, Gloucester Citizen and Kent and South Wales Echo. At the age of 71, it's time to reflect on a career which has given me such great memories from England's southeast to South Wales. In 2006, who was a first team player left out of a matchday team and replaced by me? Absolutely true. It was former Northern Ireland international Jeff Whitley, and I was in my 50s at the time. I went along with the team for a pre-season morning match against a local university team in Seattle. The Bluebirds boss, Dave Jones, wasn't keen to send out senior players, and some media staff were included in the starting lineup with head of TV and video Jamie de Cruz, if I remember rightly, scoring twice. When Whitley was late arriving, Jones ran out of patience and threw the shirt which had been intended for him, number 23, at me and said, "You're playing." I said no because of my advancing years, although former FA Cup winner David Peach, a pal of mine, did describe me as a cultured left-back when I was a teenager. Peachy and I laughed out loud. I think he was being sarcastic. Jones had wanted to start me in the team, but I was included among the subs anyway. Thankfully, I wasn't needed, but they let me keep the shirt anyway, and I still have it. As you can see, I'm wearing it. In the same year, Bluebirds on the Waterfront. Cardiff City's team coach was parked near Vancouver Waterfront on Columbia River when Melvin Kamara decided to up the tempo. He moved swiftly down the coach, picked up the driver's microphone and powered into a Michael Jackson classic. I don't remember which one it was. After all, it was a long time ago. But Kamara had a good voice and loves blasting out Jackson songs. The Bluebirds were in North America for their 2006-07 pre-season tour, and they were preparing to fly home from Vancouver International Airport, which is 10 miles from downtown Waterfront area, and their players were waiting for the management team. I had travelled to North America as part of the official Bluebirds party, joining the squad on their team coach, transatlantic flight and hotel stays. The final official event had been a banquet in Vancouver at the Steamworks Brewhouse, and the time was approaching when the group headed to the airport. Cardiff City midfield player Kamara, a future Huddersfield Town signing, was full of energy and banter when I knew him in the mid-2000s. He had a natural smile, an easygoing nature, and loved banter with his teammates, while he was also a straight talker who made his opinions clear. The Sierra Leone midfield player, who was born in Plumstead within the Royal London Borough of Greenwich, spent the best years of his football career at 5 clubs: Wimbledon, MK Dons, Cardiff City, Port Vale and Huddersfield Town. In the same year, I encountered Flip-Flop Gate and Willy Wonka. Melvin Kamara and assistant manager Terry Burton became embroiled in Flip-Flop Gate, while it was Kamara who talked about how much he loved watching his favourite film, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He would watch it before every match he played in, and there were almost 200 of them at professional level. The flip-flop incident occurred when Kamara and Burton went into a store separately, each buying a pair of flip-flops. But there was a shock when they opened their boxes. Both had only one shoe enclosed. Surely, though, they could get together and at least have one pair. There was, though, bad news, because both flip-flops were for left feet. They couldn't even match up to make a pair. Again, in the same year, Lys Passport Puzzle. When players and management arrived back at the Vancouver airport for the flight home, Joe Ledley could not find his passport. And at one stage, the Welshman had his suitcase completely unpacked, clothes strewn across the floor in the search. A telephone call to the team hotel 10 miles away revealed the passport had been left in his hotel room. A taxi was ordered and delivered it to the airport, and the day was saved, with Ledley boarding our flight along with the players. 2019, RIP Robbie. I was saddened to hear that Robbie Stepney, the only manager to have verbally threatened to kill me, yes, kill, had passed away at the age of 83. Robbie was Maidstone United manager from 1971 to 1975 and was upset over a match report I had written. It was the back page headline which made Robbie furious, a one-word blast at a performance. I didn't actually write the headline, but it was me who took the flak, and quite rightly so. Robbie and I met in the stadium tunnel at the athletic ground on London Road and snarled, "I'll kill you for that." He added, "Don't go down any dark, lonely alleys. I will be there with a knife." Of course, Robbie didn't mean it. He wasn't that type of man. He was just angry on that occasion. Stepney was born in Horsham, Sussex, and started his playing career with his hometown club before turning professional at Aldershot Town in September 1958. After ending his playing days, Robbie had managerial coaching roles with Maidstone, the Bahrain national team, and Spurs, where he was appointed reserve team manager. Former captain Steve Perryman knew Robbie well at White Hart Lane and said, "I really liked, admired and respected Robbie, both from my times as a player and a coach. He was a great influence on me, and I thank him for his work, his help and his friendship. Rest in peace, Robbie." 1985, it was Teague time. Early one morning in Gloucester, just outside the city centre, I followed a postman as he delivered letters. When he reached Mike Teague's house, I watched him leave a letter, which should be, in my mind, that he had been selected for England. They were letters that were due to arrive that day. Evening newspaper deadlines in those days were set at around 9:30 a.m. for the back page, and I rang the back row forward a few minutes later. I knew future Cardiff RFC player Teague really well back then, having been on several Gloucester Rugby Club tours when he was playing. He is an easygoing guy who always seemed to be smiling, but was ferocious on the pitch. Teague chuckled when I asked, "Any post today, Mike?" And he said, "How the heck do you know that?" And laughed when I told him about the postman. He was in happy mood and revealed, "Yes, I'm in the England squad for the match against France at Twickenham." That was Teague's England debut, and boy was he pleased. Unfortunately, that story drew me into a row in the bar at Cardiff's Romilly pub only a few weeks ago. I was in the Romilly sitting with former Bluebirds winger Dave Summerhays, who was the first substitute used by Cardiff City in 1965. We were chatting about football when I got up to buy a pint. Dave had replaced Colin Baker against Bury at Ninian Park on his landmark day. A man, possibly around my age, was at a nearby table surrounded by 4 or 5 people, and he spoke to me. I stopped to chat. He had overheard something I had said to Dave about journalism. We got on to rugby union, and I was telling the postman story when a younger couple at the same table said, "That's outrageous," and starting having a pop at me with the landlady listening. It was something about the gutter press. I didn't really understand it. I tried to explain I was a regional newspaper journalist, and our approach to the job was far, far away from our national newspaper brethren. I have to speak to the same people week after week. While I try to be truthful, I can't do any hit and run journalism. Mike was a close friend who I called the Mighty Buzzard, and he loved that nickname. He was perfectly at ease with my early morning jaunt. Unfortunately, the couple weren't prepared to listen. I apologised to the landlady and left. The Romilly is a pub where ex-City player Ronnie Bird was landlord at one stage, but sadly I haven't been back to the Romilly since that altercation. It's a top pub though. I will return soon. 1970-71, Bob and Roy start charge towards success. When the Bluebirds competed in the Vancouver Nations Cup in 2006, I renewed acquaintance with a football man I had met 35 years earlier. Bobby Houghton, whose managerial career spanned more than 30 years across 10 countries, was in charge of the Indian national team who competed in the tournament alongside Cardiff City. His first role in management was at Hastings United, but he soon moved on to Maidstone United. Houghton teamed up with future England and Liverpool manager Roy Kinnear. The two men who grew up in the same area of Croydon and worked extensively together in coaching and management roles. Houghton teamed up with former England and Liverpool manager Roy Kinnear. The two men grew up in the same area of Croydon and worked extensively together in coaching and management roles. I was, at the time, a teenage journalist reporting on Maidstone United for the Kent Messenger. Remarkably, when you take into account their success in future years, Stones released the pair after they finished third in the Southern League South. Waterlooville were champions, Ramsgate Athletic runners-up, with Maidstone third. Only two were promoted. In 2006, the Indian team was staying at the same hotel as Cardiff City and Vancouver. In 2006, the Indian team was staying at the same hotel as Cardiff City in Vancouver, and I was able to chat with Houghton about those times at Maidstone. The former Malmo manager is the man said to have inspired Sven-Göran Eriksson. Now, Houghton, aged 76, is out of football and in retirement. 2002, 0 degrees. Craig Middleton is the only member of an exclusive club when it comes to South Wales Echo player ratings. The midfield player from Warwickshire is the only Bluebird to be awarded a 0 mark. I hated those ratings with a vengeance. They were the worst part of my job, and the players were far from happy. John Williams, nicknamed the Flying Postman, was among the best guys socially on the team. But if I awarded him 6 or less out of 10 after a match, he would ignore me for a short while. Anything above 6 and he would make it his business to come and chat. Those ratings were controversial among players, and it was a difficult balance when deciding on the marks. Personally, the worst ratings I gave were 2, and there were 5 of those after a 3-1 home defeat against Luton Town, including Willie Boland. The Irishman was hurt and refused all interviews with me after that. Future Cardiff City manager Lenny Lawrence was in charge of Luton, while Frank Borrows was the Bluebirds' boss. Unfortunately, Frank left the club 2 days after that match along with Billy Eyre, and Bobby Gould took over. They were followed by Alan Cork and then Lawrence. Now back to Mids, who played alongside his twin brother Lee when they won the FA Youth Cup for Coventry City. He was a grafter, a player who gave everything for the team. His 0 rating in the Echo was a mistake, an awful error on my watch. Echo Sports Desk sub-editors had set up a working template for the ratings, which had a 0 next to each name. On the fateful day, our sub-editor on duty failed to update a 0, and it was missed. Craig, without doubt, was shocked when he saw the newspaper. Thankfully, the comments next to his name were more positive, and Craig didn't get too upset. That starting template was immediately altered to put 7s next to each name before the subs got to work, and that avoided a repeat. Watch out for part 2 of my confessions, when I will answer these questions. Who was the Bluebirds player who grabbed me by the throat and held me against a wall at Ninian Park? How I found fame in Scandinavia and made fairly regular appearances on Norwegian morning television. Who was a prospective Cardiff City manager trying to hide in the bushes at Longford Town FC?